The highly respected cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Last week, less than a week ago, on April 30th, we lost one of those thoughtful, committed individuals, and the world will forever be changed. He was an accountant who graduated from Michigan State University in 1954. And like so many of his post-war generations, he brought his dreams into the bright sunlight and warm air of California. This humble accountant soon became a wildly successful home builder and financier. Just as he had fallen in love with his wife, Edie, a few years before, he fell in love with his new home state of California. But real estate wasn't just about money for Eli. He wanted our golden state to be placed to a place where home ownership was achievable place, a piece of the American dream, especially for the greatest generation who had just won the peace for the world. The accountant turned real estate mogul wrote a book called The Art of Being Unreasonable, Lessons in Unconventional Thinking, and he was unreasonable. He was my friend for nearly 40 years, and he could drive you crazy. But he did so with an honest and true intention of making his community and his beloved state better. His name, Eli Broad. He was known for building and funding extraordinary museums, from the Museum of Contemporary Art to the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and the museum bearing his namesake, the Broad Museum, an institution free to all. But his civic mindedness was not confined to just the art world. We supported several community colleges, including Santa Monica College, where you could find the Broad Stage, a venture run by my dear friend Dale Franson, as well as a Los Angeles Valley College, where he donated generously to the construction of a library that we're still working on today. Eli believed in the connection between culture and our public institutions. In service of this passion, he and I were partners in helping the Los Angeles Unified School District create a performing arts high school in downtown Los Angeles. For the last 11 years, we served together as members of the Think Long Committee of the Berggruen Institute of California, devoting time and attention to the long-term needs of California and structural reform. And when former Governor Davis sought to build an architecturally significant building for the new Caltrans headquarters in downtown Los Angeles, he called Eli Broad, who spearheaded an architectural competition, and when the winning design came up $2 million over budget, the Broad Foundation covered the difference. He pushed former Speaker Antonio Villaraigosa and I hard for state support of the iconic Walt Disney Concert Hall. And at every turn, in each one of these projects, when I talked to my friends in the labor community, Eli, at the end of every meeting, pointed to the contractors and the people in the room, and he said, "I want to ensure every worker hired on this project gets a fair wage," from the first time he came to California to the last project he worked on. And beyond these endeavors, Eli Broad devoted millions of dollars to support the vision for thriving public schools and cutting-edge scientific research. He was one of his most generous supporters of LA's best, one of the city's most impactful school programs. He contributed over $600 million to establish and continuously fund the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard, which advances our knowledge of the genome and develops genetic therapies. Whether or not you agreed with Eli Broad, he undeniably represented the spirit of a generation committed to improving the world and investing in the infrastructure of our communities. To Eli, being unreasonable was truly an art, one he derived from a quote by George Bernard Shaw. "Reasonable people adapt themselves to the world. The unreasonable ones," he said, "persist in trying to adapt the world to themselves. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable person." Thank you, Eli Broad, for your unreasonable nature and for being one of the most thoughtful, committed members of our community I've ever known. Survived by his extraordinary wife, Edie, 2 sons. I will miss you in the state you loved. I ask that we adjourn in the memory of Mr. Eli Broad.